It was Samuel L. Jackson's purported reaction to comments about Steve Harvey being likened to Bernie Mac. Why would he react like this, you ask? Well, let's just say he and Bernie go way back. I knew he was having some health concerns, and I was really concerned about him. But he would look at me every day and say, I am good, let's go, let's hit it. And we would hit it, and it was a joy to work on that movie with Bernie. But even outside his relationship with Bernie Mac, the comic seems to have genuinely been a good person from within, and he proved it countless times better. I think if you focus on being the best within yourself, all that stuff will come. I hear people say, get your money on, I hate that I hate you. I mean, that's your motivation. And then here's what the person who being compared to MC talks about. Listen to me, rich people think differ. So what I'm going to put in your head today is rich people concept so you can get to understand it. The only difference between successful people and not, it's just how they think. To most people outside Chiz, we usually expect that all the successful people in the industry are probably besties, being that they're all very wealthy and are usually in similar lines of work. But it seems wealth might be the last consideration for Samuel L. Jackson to get along with Steve Harvey, knowing Jackson and his knack for being funny. You think his from Harvey is about something as simple as the host's mustache. But it seems his disdain might run much deeper. And it all leads back to Bernie Mac. You see, most people know Harvey and Mac had a relationship, being that they came up in the industry together. However, what most of those people also don't know is that before Harvey became public with MC the comic and Jackson had already been friends from way back. In fact, according to what Samuel L. Jackson has described of their relationship, Ma was pretty much open to him whenever he needed a place to stay. Now, it seems hearing Steve allegedly strike up some talk about how he and Mac were on the same path might have triggered the Avengers actor disdain for the celebrity host. He not only seems to be calling Harvey out for the comparison, but it seems there might be some skeletons in Steve Harvey's closet that only the elites know about, because from the claims allegedly coming from Jackson, he might be only inches from exposing Steve Harvey's true nature to the world. Knowing Steve also over the years, he doesn't take too kindly to people attacking him. So he just might fire back. What everyone is asking is what exactly it is Steve said about Bernie that affected Sam L enough to call him out. Let's get into it. You feel that the beef between Bernie Mac and Steve Harvey was because Steve Harvey was getting a lot of network love during the time, and Bernie Mac not so much. Yeah. And then Bernie started to get it, saying Steve Harvey and Samuel L. Jackson have a volatile relationship would be an overstatement, as the pair don't seem to have anything in common. Particularly at first, everyone thought it was Steve's extravagant personality, as most people would agree was also Jackson's problem. But that wasn't the case. You see, to half the world, Steve Harry just might be the greatest entertainer to make it out in the industry, considering the host also has more than 3 decades of experience, coupled with a barrage of successful TV shows and stand-up comedy performances to his name. It makes sense that most people think that, in fact, out of everyone he came up with in his early days in the industry, you could say Steve is one of the top names on the record. However, while so many people share this highly held opinion about Steve Harvey, several others feel the opposite for the celebrity host. Some are very open about it, as with this user who wrote, people don't become as successful as Steve doing the right thing. If anything, I'll say he's consistent. So you know this is who he really is. While others are not so upfront about their disdain. And this is where Samuel L. Jackson comes up. The Spider-Man actor, unlike most people, has been largely subtle about not liking Steve Harvey. So much but subtle, as it maybe he still made it clear on national TV a few years ago. There were pictures of Jackson and his wife along with Harvey and his wife at a vacation spot that appeared online. Since people didn't know much about their relationship back then, everyone assumed they were friends. The headlines at that time even said something like Steve Harvey, Samuel L. Jackson, and Magic Johnson enjoyed July 4th on a fancy yacht with their wives. A few years later, Jackson shared that meeting up with Steve wasn't in his plans, that all he explained that he and his wife were heading to their vacation spot for the year when they happened to bump into the celebrity host along with his wife. This comes as opposed to the motion that they had made arrangements in advance. Steve Harvey, I hear y'all take vacations together on the yacht or something. While we get on the boat with Magic and Cookie, Steve and Mary have their own boat. Looking at Jackson's expression as he spoke about it, it seems clear that the actor wanted the world to know that meeting Steve wasn't anything short of an accident. Now, this brings up the question of why Jackson may not be Steve's biggest fan. Turns out it has much to do with Bernie Mac. And you know who had a problem with Mac's Steve Harvey? These days, Jackson's disdain for his industry peer seems to be tied to reports of Steve comparing his life to the legendary comic L. And let's just say the Nick Fury actor wasn't exactly having it for the most part. Mac has been known to draw his motivation for following the path of making people laugh from his family and his culture. In Steve's case, it seems it might have just been about the money right from the beginning. And when money wasn't involved, it was scandals, as there is almost a visible parallel line between how both their lives have gone, which makes it clear why this comparison would have been difficult for Jackson to stomach. Speaking of the actor, the only reason he's in almost every conversation involving Bernie Mac is that the pair go way back so much, so that everyone in the industry pretty much thought of them as siblings of amazing. And he pushed me and made me do some things I didn't know I was capable of doing. And he kept me from committing homicide most days too. So he kept me out of prison. Mac and Jackson weren't just actors who worked together. They were good friends. They acted together in the movie Soulman. But what most people don't know is how close Samuel Jackson and Bernie Mac really were. Jackson has spent years talking about the life Malad since he passed in Soulman. Jackson and MC played characters who used to be in a band together. They went on a crazy road trip across the country to perform at a concert in memory of their lead singer who had passed away. Sadly, Bernie Mac got sick and died from pneumonia in August after they finished making the movie. It's even weirder that he never saw the movie. Jackson said the Hitman's Bodyguard star called McKay friend, and said the Ocean's 11 co-stars would attend and perform at Jackson's golf tournament in Bermuda. Outside of filming Soulman, Jackson said he didn't get to spend much time with Mac while he was alive, as the actor was booked to the brim, starring in his show The Bernie Mac Show, which was a Fox comedy series that aired from 2001 to 2006. We used to talk about blowing up and being famous and doing all this stuff and all of that stated Jackson. Then when he got famous, he was here in LA. And I never saw him because he was so busy doing his TV program. Every day I didn't go by and disturb him, but I would run into him at gatherings. And we got to get together. It was who he was. And I appreciate that about him. And I love the fact that when I came to Chicago and I was doing Negotiator, Bernie took care of me. The ending of Soulman features a dedication to Mac and Isaac Hayes, two real soulmen. And guess whose idea it was? Yep, understanding the basis of Jackson's real relationship with Mac makes it simple to understand how the actor would have a problem with the pair being compared. And if you look at how their lives have gone, you'll probably notice it. To Bernie Mac is one of those who quickly made it to the top of the list of comedians you could label pioneers in the profession. But you know what they say about great power, it comes with great responsibilities. And it seems it might have been those very responsibilities that led to his untimely demise, best known today for his hit TV series The Bernie Mac Show and the historic Kings of Comedy tour, which was made into a film directed by Lee. The Chicago comedian was a titan among his peers. What I think of in terms of big, it really wasn't a doubt. I knew I would do well, and he appeared like he had a breezy trip to becoming an icon. But the comic's reality was far from that. The comedian lost his mother at a young age, as a result of which Mac faced several problems and had to take up several odd jobs to make ends meet. He soon realized that it is humor that keeps a person going in a treacherous journey called life. As such, he decided to focus his attention on stand-up comedy and do his best to entertain people, although clove the concept of being a comedian since the age of 8. He decided to follow his passion as a job only at a later stage of his life. I hear y'all take vacations together on the yacht or something while we get on the boat with Magic and Cookie Steve. Ed and Mary have their own boat. Looking at Jackson's expression as he spoke about it, it seems clear that the actor wanted the world to know that meeting Steve wasn't anything short of an accident. Now, this brings up the question of why Jackson may not be Steve's biggest fan. Turns out, it has much to do with Bernie Mac, and who had a problem with